going to show you how to do something that is sort of a lost art. If anyone knows the history of men's shirts, it used to be that, sort of like the shirt I have on now, men's shirts just had a band on it and it would button. And they would buy the collar separately, and there would be buttons on the inside, and your collar would button in. You could buy very cheap collars made out of paper. Some could be like out of a very coarse fabric. And then the more expensive the fabric, the more expensive the collar. That way, you could wash your shirt and your collar separately, and or well, if you have a paper collar, it was disposable, obviously. And when your collar wore out, you still had your shirt. Somewhere along the line, they started putting them all together, which poses a problem if you have a man that has dress shirts. You eventually get a ring around the collar. This is just a white shirt, and I bleached this several times, and I still have the ring around the collar around the collar seam because it's an older shirt. The rest of the shirt is in great condition. When you have dress shirts, obviously, especially if you're in a hot climate like we are, usually we have perspiration damage in the underarms. Women used to wear perspiration shields in days before deodorant in order to keep the fabric from rotting. Certain fabrics like silk and satins were more prone to rot than natural breathing fabrics like cotton and wool. So today we're stuck with collars and cuffs. Cuffs also used to be detachable. There's nothing wrong with these cuffs, so I'm not going to be flipping these cuffs. But what we're going to do with the collar, I'm going to show you how to flip collar in order to preserve or prolong the life of your shirt. And the same concept will go for the cuffs. I'm not going to do the cuffs, but basically it's the same thing that we will be doing for the shirt if you wanted to do your cuffs too. Now, the first thing you have to do, they make shirts differently, each different brand, and if you have a shirt that has stays, you're going to have a pocket on the underside. At that shirt, you could flip the collar if you didn't care, but you're going to have that pocket there for stays. Some shirts have the underside of the collar as a cost-saving measure. The manufacturer will use a different type of fabric, a different print, or maybe a solid if the shirt is a plaid or whatever. So this works best on shirts whose collars are exactly the same on both sides. There's no different stitching underneath. There's no pocket for the stay. The fabric is the same fiber content and everything as the top. This is a Stafford style men's work shirt, and over the course of, I don't know, about 30 years now, maybe less, a little less, 25 years, I've found as a housewife that Stafford brand shirts really wear really well. I believe these are from JCPenney's. That used to be the only seller. I'm not sure if they have branched out. But anyway, so it's a good quality cotton, like Oxford cotton, and usually the collars are the same on both sides. Now, the first step you're going to do is you need a seam ripper, and this is going to be hard to show. Well, that's pretty good because it's white. So you see that this is upside down. Let me turn it this way. So on your collar, you have a seam here. We're not going to do anything with that seam. We have a seam here. This seam attaches the collar to the shirt. We want to go in here and we want to pop all these seams along this band on the top of the shirt. And if you're lucky, you can get it. Sometimes the top is flat seamed as well as underneath, so it's a little time consuming, and this is the kind of project, like while you watch a show at night or something, and you want to be as careful as possible, and you want to pop those. Let's see, I'm trying to see if I can get it to So I'm going to show you sort of the start before I go. I'm not going to obviously make you sit here and watch me pop this whole seam on this band of this collar, but I want to show you how it starts. We're going to, so here are the steps. We're going to remove the seams from the band and the collar. So that, here it goes, it's starting to come off. And you see the collar starting to come off, and you're going to have a flap, and you don't want to do anything with that. In fact, I wouldn't even take these stitches out if they're still in there. You want the indentation, like it looks like a perforation, because we're going to use that original sewing line, the original seam line. We're going to sew right back over that as our guide when we put the collar, when we flip the collar and put it back on. What do I mean when I'm saying we're going to flip the collar? We're taking the collar off and we're turning it to the other side. We're going to flip it over. So now that the ring around the collar side is underneath, when the collar folds like this, now the ring around the collar part will be underneath the shirt where no one will see it. And the back side that is nice and white still, it will be the front of the collar. So this way we preserve our shirt, and we're going to get double the wear out of our shirt. Now, there's another thing that you can do. If your husband sticks to all white shirts or has several shirts the same color, that can be handy, because say one shirt wears out, it gets too much perspiration stains in the underarms, and you're not able to bleach that out, but the color is still good. Take the collar off. This is where buying the same brand really helps. Take the collar off, preserve the collar in like a baggie or something. Now, when you have a shirt that has a bad collar, you can take that bad color off, and you can put the good color that you saved from the shirt that was too damaged to do anything with. So they're interchangeable as long as you have relatively the same size neck. So that's just a little tip. Also, the same thing with the cuffs. You have a shirt that you rip or something, and you're just not able to patch it in a way that it looks professional and looks decent. Save the cuffs and save the collar. Save the buttons. This way you are able to reuse those things on another shirt. So here I have, you can start seeing the collars coming off. We don't want to do anything to our collar. And you can see the dingy area here where is the ring around the collar, which this was backed up to the seam, and then you can see underneath it's nice and white. So we're going to be flipping that nice white side over to the side that is visible. So I'm going to continue to do this, and then I'll come back when we're ready to sew it, and I'll show you how to do it. It's a really simple procedure, and you're going to wish you knew about this sooner. Alright, I have removed the collar from the shirt, and here is, you can see the, this is the side that we're going to be turning over, because you can see like the sort of the ring around the collar staying there. It didn't come out after being bleached or whatever. And here's the side, the underside, and you can see there's no stain on this side. And you can notice how this is the same on both sides, except for this, you know, obviously the seams are a bit more pressed on here because it's been ironed for so long, but it'll get, it'll look like that eventually when you start doing that. So, here's the inside of the shirt, and you can see how I took off the collar, leaving as much of that seam intact so I can use it as a guide. So what I'm going to do is, now you're going to put the underside of the collar that we're flipping to make the right side of the collar, and you want to make sure you get it laid out right. So here's the inside of the shirt. You can see the tag, and I'm taking the side of the collar that I want to now be what it should look like when it's right side out, and I'm tucking the collar back into that little tunnel where we removed it from. And this is when you're just going to pin it, mark the seam markings, leave a few threads in there. You can use it, and I need to get my glasses. Your stitch line. It's a little time consuming. You want to get it as straight as possible. It's easy, but you got to be patient and get those seams lined back up. So you want to make sure you get all of your collar in there. And now I want to flip it over. Make sure it's lined up. Now to make sure that I have it pinned correctly, I'm just going to fold it over, make sure that it's laying correctly. Ouch. Alright, and now we're going to sew it. So you're just going to use a straight stitch, obviously. You want to try to get your, and what I do to find this exact stitch is I just sort of walk it a couple of threads to get it in there. Sometimes the button can make it a little problematic. Okay, and then you want to follow the little indentions or the perforations of the seam, the original stitch seam. You can see the collar. On the back side, you can see where the old color, this is the old color, because you can see that slight stain there. Now I'm just going to fold this collar over. Give it a good crease, and I have another one to do, and then I'm going to go iron these. You cannot tell that this color has been changed. It just looks like the regular collar. So we have successfully flipped that collar. And there you have it. I finished ironing the collar, and you can tell it looks exactly like it would have if it was not flipped. And now the shirt doesn't have a stain on the visible area, and you can wear it for a few more years. And remember, you can also do this with the cuffs. I don't have a shirt that needs the cuffs flipped right now, so I'm not going to bother with that. But it's the same exact concept. You just carefully remove that, pop that seam, remove the cuff, flip it over, and resew it. Been doing it since the early 90s on men's dress shirts, and never had any complaints. And it does give you a couple more years wear out of your dress shirts. So I hope this has been helpful. This has been Angie from Canterbury Trails Farm. Thanks for joining us. Bye.